Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Well, it is time for Hormones 101.
It's like a science throwdown on the show today, and not to be outdone by Dr. Jamie Matthews' orrery, Dr. Heidi Rootes has brought Lego on the show today to try and explain hormones to it.
Now, Heidi, this is a huge topic.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
We're going to power through just some of the basics. We'll do 101 because there's so much to do with hormones. We could talk for days.
Let's start with the ovaries and the testes.
Because that's the fun part. Okay, ovaries and testes produce three major hormones. We've got testosterone, and yes, women, we produce testosterone.
Yes.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah, we do.
And
Okay.
progesterone, yes, men, you produce progesterone, and
Yes,
estrogen.
yes.
There are three estrogens. So there's some harmful estrogens, and there's some less harmful, more beneficial. And actually, estrogen's your really happy hormone. It's the one that makes you feel fabulous. Estrogen has a really bad reputation, but we love estrogen. Unless we've got too much.
Is that why, okay, God, we're going to distract you with stupid questions, but is that why, like, estrogen and all these hormonal things like the pill and stuff like that can have such a vast effect on how women feel, how they're, you know.
Yeah, they can really alter things. So when you have too much estrogen, you have things like aggression, lots of anger, mood irritability.
With estrogen.
With
Anxiety,
estrogen.
all
But if
that
you don't have enough estrogen, you have things like hot flashes, you have depression, you have anxiety, you have muscle wasting. Estrogen stimulates things like serotonin, dopamine.
That's the
Those are the
happiness.
hormones that make you feel relaxed and good. So
Okay,
people that are going through menopause, they have a really hard time when their estrogens drop.
And you hear the term hormonal imbalance or hormonal
Imbalance.
balance all the time. You really want to make sure that you're on the right level.
So what happens a lot of times is your progesterone also drops at the same time, and we feel like our progesterone is lower than our estrogen, so people think that they're estrogen dominant, but really both the hormones are really low.
So I see what you mean by
it's very
and why we
confusing.
have the block. So why don't we start with the ovaries, testes, and how do you can you change this makeup?
You can. You can
Should
do a lot to support the ovaries and the testes, and a lot of times during andropause and menopause, when the hormones really start to become imbalanced, that's when you want to start looking at what's going on with the hormones. But you need to look at all the hormones.
Okay.
So each organ plays in with each other one. So if we move over to the thyroid, we have our thyroid. Thyroid, the
Thyroid
brain
in the
tells the
house.
thyroid to release thyroid-stimulating hormone. That allows the thyroid to release T4.
Okay.
T4, 90% of T4 is released from the thyroid, and it's 90% of the hormone that's released from the thyroid. It is your inactive, weak thyroid hormone. It does barely anything.
Okay.
But then, yes, the URC hormone
I get it.
expert, yes.
You take a block from the bottom and you put it on the top.
There you go.
So your T4 then converts into T3. That's what's supposed to happen. T3 is your active thyroid hormone. It's the one that helps with your metabolism. It helps with your proper heart rate, proper breathing. It helps with your oxygenation of red blood cells.
And when you hear about a thyroid, get your thyroid checked.
Get your
People do
thyroid
that
checked.
because they're overweight.
They're overweight. Well, if you have low thyroid, you're going to be overweight, constipated, depressed. You're going to have trouble sleeping. If you have too much thyroid hormone, it's the opposite. It's hyperthyroid. So you have diarrhea, anxiety, sleep disturbance, hair loss, all of those
Another
things.
thing you want balance.
I always have
Exactly.
anxiety when I have diarrhea. But how do you
Yes.
check all this stuff?
Okay,
Is it
so
a
here's
blood
the thing.
test or is it?
Typically what happens is we check our TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. That can look just fine because what happens sometimes is we take away this. If our T4 is being converted into reverse T3, which is another inactive thyroid hormone, this all looks great. But the thyroid hormone that's really doing all the work isn't present. So this is the key. We need to know what this is doing.
So you can get that tested and
You can
then
revert-
work on getting it balanced.
Absolutely. Then you have your adrenal glands. So your adrenals are your stress gland. They're the ones that during moments of stress...
Fight or flight? Fight or flight?
Yes, fight or flight.
Yeah.
They release a little bit of cortisol. Okay, you're gonna see a lot of these blue blocks in the next 2 minutes.
Cortisol, what does that do?
Cortisol gives you the get up and go. It allows your heart rate to go faster. It gives you proper oxygenation of your lungs. In the moment, it gives you small amounts of cortisol, gives you energy. It allows you to think clearly. It allows for proper oxygenation of your cells.
So you want to have that.
You do for a very short amount of time, but too much cortisol for too long works the opposite way. So it starts to break down muscle. It starts to make you fatigued. It starts to it's a disaster. And we have a lot of this, all of us.
Really?
We also release estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone from our adrenal glands. So when we go through menopause, andropause, and we don't produce so much of
Is
this.
andropause, what is that?
It's male
It's
menopause.
male menopause.
Andropause.
Why won't you recognize what happens to me?
Are you sweaty? Are you hot?
God, it's hot in here.
Okay, so we've got lots of sources of hormones, but here's the thing. They all play with each other. Too much cortisol in the system, which a lot of us have for too much time, suppresses...
Oh,
yes.
Oh, okay.
Suppresses T3. No more thyroid hormone. It suppresses progesterone. It suppresses estrogen.
Wow.
So if we're living in a high level of stress,
Which none of us are.
which none of us do,
No, but say we were.
We're producing more of this.
Way more of this for prolonged periods of time. So we're not sleeping. Where you could be going to the gym all the time. You're not producing any muscle. You are anxious. You're depressed. You're fatigued. You're gaining weight, or you're not able to lose weight. You're not feeling well.
Now, when you're talking about balancing these things, I mean, of course, you're a naturopathic doctor, so we're talking about how to balance it in that way. How does that differ from regular doctors and how you balance things?
Well, there's not a ton of difference in what we. Well, there's a lot of options anyways for balancing hormones. A lot of the traditional ways of doing it is using things like birth control pill, which is an oral conjugated equine estrogens or progesterones. The body doesn't do great with oral estrogens or oral hormones at all because you have to conjugate it in the liver. You can use herbs, and they can be really good at helping to stimulate some gland and production of hormones, but some people are so burnt out, they have so much cortisol, they're not producing hormone anyway that's not going to work. You can use bioidentical hormones, which are usually transdermal, so creams on the skin. They're plant-based. They are, from the pharmacy, and they're fabulous. They work so well.
Interesting. I've never heard of that.
Bioidenticals?
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
Bam! She's like, bam!
Yeah. The bioidentical hormones can be really helpful, and you can just use a little. You can have them custom made for each individual person. A little bit of estrogen, a little bit of progesterone. You put them transdermally on the skin. But then you have to do things to support the underlying cause. Because it's great to give you a little bit of hormone to get you feeling better again, because of course you want to be sleeping, you want to have some energy.
But if you're stressed, you want to manage those
so
things
you
in
need
your
to
life.
eat frequently, you have to stabilize your blood sugars, you have to stabilize your sleep cycles. You need to get people sleeping again. So, hormones.
Heidi, well done.
Yeah.
That is Hormone 101. If you want to find out more, you can go to Heidi's website. It's on the screen for you right now. Mike, don't steal all
the
the little blocks.
testosterone.
What did you build?
I'm giving this one an erection.
Oh, perfect.
So I need more testosterone.
Okay, we're going to take a break when we return.